Welcome back to episode 3, 2024 Pro Mindset Training Camp. We've had 2 episodes. This is our third one about NFL training camps. Today we're going to talk about the mental challenges of training camp, plus a couple other things. I'm going to start out by first going on energy. One of the most important things for players during training camp is to manage their energy. They get 1 day off every 7 days. And they've got to be, this is one of those games, training camp is one of those things where when the lights are on, the player's got to be ready to go. And when the lights are off, he's got to be resting off his feet, taking mental breaks, taking naps, learning his playbook, staying in touch with his loved ones, all those type of things. But it's like the priority has to be on energy management so that a player can show up with a hop in his step, be able to flash, go full speed. Basically, it's a tryout every single practice. Every day is a tryout. You know, if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're not trying out. You're trying to perfect your trade. You're trying to be more connected with the receivers, with the Jets. But for most players, it's impress time. It's impress time. If you're either impressing the team or you're depressing yourself, one or the other, because there's nothing in between. Okay. And the way that you can demonstrate that excellent energy management is by making every rep count. You know, in the NFL, they've got these very up-tempo, fast practices. It's not like college where you do, lots of plays over and over again, or high school where they're, it's even in the pros, it's all about business. The team period might have 12 plays. That's it. 12 plays. You might get in for 2. You don't know which 2. Are you ready when your number's called? And it's one of those things where you've got to maximize that opportunity when you get it. The more you maximize your opportunities, you'll see a trend where you'll get more opportunities. And if your opportunities are getting less and less and less, it's usually a result of one of 2 things. Either the guy you're competing with is doing amazing and they want him to be the guy because he's proving it. That's generally that's very common. Or the other one is you're stinking it up. And when you're stinking it up, you don't deserve it. And you're not going to give it to you. The reps are so precious that they're not just going to give you reps just to check a box. They're not going to give you reps just to make you feel good. This is like I've shared before, it's a meritocracy. It's a merit business. The politics are out the door during training camp. At the end of training camp, when they're trying to make some crucial roster decisions, sometimes politics comes in. The way it comes in is in terms of money, comes in terms of salary cap, comes in terms of cap hits, things like that. Let's talk about the mental struggles. The mental struggles, to me, I'm going to go through 2 primary ones. One is competition and comparison, and the second one is perfection. So let's just go to comparison and competition. One of the things that the players that do the best are the players that compete, not compare. If they're focused on comparison, how their teammates doing, how the other guys are doing, it's not for them. Your focus as a player has to be on competing, being your best. So the objective here, and the same thing with perfection, it's not about being perfect. It's about being your best and giving it your best and giving 100% effort and responding to adversity however best you can. It's not about keeping score. It's not about getting butthurt when a coach throws up a play in front of the position group and says, this is not how we do it. And you're the dude that's doing it. Can't be butthurt about it. It's just part of the game. So it's not about comparison, and it's not about counting reps either. If you're a young player and you got 2 reps and another guy got 4, you automatically think he's ahead of you. He may be. He may not be. It's more about how do you execute? How do you perform? What kind of impact do you make on the field when you do get your reps compared to how many reps you get? Sometimes teams will bring a young player along by limiting his reps. They do that with injured players a lot. So it's not about how many, it's about how well. And then with respect to perfection, this is a head game for players. And it shows up all the time. It doesn't show up just in practice. It shows up when they're put their head on the pillow or just crash at night. It's when their subconscious mind is drifting into, hey, how did I do? How can I do better? What, how can I impress the coach more? How can I earn his trust more? How can I get more playing time? How can I get more reps? When you start focusing on trying to be perfect, that is the beginning of the end. Tom Brady's thrown more incompletions than any quarterback in the history of the game in professional sports. There's not been a professional football player who's thrown more incompletions than Tom Brady, and yet he's considered the best. So it's not about perfection. It's about improvement. It's about getting better 1% every day, not making the same mistakes every day. When the coaches yell at you and correcting you on something, make sure that the next day and the next practice and the next week and the next month, he doesn't have to do that again. But he will continue to coach you, critique you, yell at you, coach you. It's going to be something. It's going to be in something else. And when he instructs you on that particular issue, make sure that, again, he's not doing it the next day and the next week and so on and so forth. So perfection is an identity killer. It affects players in such a way that they start experiencing failure and missed opportunities and almost plays. They almost make the play because they're trying to be perfect. And so comparison does the same thing. It's paralyzing. When everybody gets hot. It's like playing golf. Somebody has a couple good holes in a row. Doesn't mean they're going to beat you. You're playing against the course anyway, but when you want to compare scores at the end of the match, they can have 3 birdies in a row and still not beat you. So in football, a guy can have a hot week and the coaches are loving on him, giving him a lot of attention. He happens to play the same position that you do. You've got to stay the course. You got to stay locked in. You got to stay getting better. Focus on being the best you can be. Honestly, if at the end of training camp and you ball out and a player does the best he can do and he doesn't make the team, wasn't meant to be. He'll go somewhere else. He'll play for somebody else. What really is humbling for a player is when he would have made the team, but for the fact he didn't play his best. All he had to do was play his best and he was going to make the roster. But he didn't play his best. And the most common reasons for players not to play the best is they're comparing and they're striving for perfection instead of just being their best. Last thing I've got for today is that players have to have routines, daily routines. They've got to have routines in the morning and they have to have routines in the evening, whether it's quiet time, prayer time, breath work, meditation. It doesn't really matter what it is. They have to build into their schedule. I'm going to review my practice. I'm going to review my playbook before practice. I'm going to review my playbook compared to the plays we actually called in practice after practice. You have to have routines, even in your eating habits, sleeping habits, resting habits, all those types of things. Players that do the best have systems and habits and routines. I want to thank you for listening to Pro Mindset episode number 3 on training camp. Join me for episode number 4, soon to be coming out. And check out again Pro Mindset book on craigdomann.com. Thank you for joining in on Pro Mindset Podcast. Hey, it's Craig Domann, the host of Pro Mindset Podcast. I want to thank you for listening or watching today's show. And you can catch us every week on the normal social media platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and all the listening podcast platforms. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And more importantly, I hope you gained a pro mindset insight. Please be sure to rate and review Pro Mindset Podcast. And I look forward to catching up with you on our next show.